the Happy Hour podcast with your host, Joel Fleischman.
Hey everybody. Oh, hello everybody. Welcome to the Joel Fleischman Happy Hour podcast, episode number 27. I have my good friends here, Judy Ehlenbeck and Mike Johnson from Kiel. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Thank you.
Number 26. So
Yes.
Let's get to it. Happy hour.
Woo-hoo.
Ready? You guys got
Yes.
the bottle opener?
We need the bottle opener.
All right. Cheers. We've got an interesting. Hey, Prost. We got an interesting flavor today. What do we got there, guys?
I have grapefruit.
Grapefruit.
Yes. Never had it.
What is the brand name?
Imported from Germany.
Schafferhofer.
Quick shout out to Betsy Gitter, her favorite beer
Really?
that they got out for her shout out. So
First drink was pretty good.
yeah, it's not bad. It's not as grapefruity as you think.
Very
Still
good.
got a little beer flavor in it.
Yeah, I like
And
it.
I'm back to my Hello Milwaukee American Lager, the last one we have left of this. It's Hello Milwaukee American Lager beer, if you can all see that. And it is made in Minnesota. So this will be the last time I have that, because I'm kind of a made in Wisconsin kind of beer guy.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe it means they wish they were from Wisconsin, though.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. Maybe that's a
That's
good
probably
thing.
what it
but
is.
Why give them the money? So welcome, guys. So these guys are really the Kiel legacy team members. Did I miss somebody? I should have even called.
Well, Frank has been all over.
Yeah, I can't come.
Yeah.
Frank's coming on a later broadcast.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
okay. Yeah.
He's down the road for a podcast. He's on the list.
But other than that, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
this is
just
Mike
us
and
two.
I. Yep.
So if you want to just share with everybody your story,
Sure.
how'd you start here? When did you start?
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
Well, actually, I'm in the lumber industry 22 years already, but I'm with Fleischman's 18 years.
Which is we bought the company in 2004.
2003,
Three.
2004 we built.
Okay, 2004 we built.
Yep. And at the time, we only had 3 buildings that went up, and since then, we grew and grew and grew. Yes, so
And what do you currently do, Judy?
what do I currently do? I do roofing and siding, and I absolutely love it. And there's a story behind that. Before that, I did collections, and Joel came down one day, took me out for lunch, and I thought he was going to talk to me about how good I'm doing with collections. He looked at me and he said, "How about if I put you in roofing and siding?" And I was like, "What?"
How many years ago was that already?
3. It's
Three.
been 3 years.
Major change.
Yeah, major change. I was like a collection bitch to going to being a really nice person.
Yeah, right. And you only did collections. You actually didn't do any AR even.
No. Well, I
Right.
did it briefly, AR and payables when we first were
Briefly,
bought out.
right,
Yes,
right.
briefly, and then after that,
Right.
we grew so fast, and then at the tail end, yep. So that's where I am now, and I really enjoy it.
You do?
So yeah,
Great.
I'm glad I made the move.
Yeah, hard
So-
to make those moves though, isn't it?
It was, you took me by surprise, but that position was open for over a year, and you told me that, and I did know that, and I thought to myself, I can do that, but in the back of my mind, I thought that until you said, let's try it, so, and I did.
You just need a little shove.
Yeah, little shove, yep.
Good. That's awesome.
The jutsu, you gotta push me sometimes.
Everyone does a little bit.
Yep.
And Mike, what's your story?
So I started with the company, I think about 2 months after it was bought, Wallen was bought. So, so 2000, what did we say, 3, I guess, right? 2000?
2 months after?
2 months after, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it happened in December,
Yes, December
and I started in
2003.
February.
Right. That's why I always say 2004 because it was such a short time.
Yeah.
2003.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So,
Sure.
I
In
started.
fact, our books might not have started till Jan 2004. That could be.
Oh.
Could be.
But I have it
I'm not
written
sure.
down, you're right, December of 2003.
yeah.
So it was February 3rd, I think, was when I started. Started as, what was I doing first? Siding, decking, roofing. Wound up dabbling a little bit in the pole barn stuff. And then did millwork when we moved out to the new location then on
I
Cemetery.
think you had been offered a salesman job at one point, maybe, or
Correct.
talked about
Yep.
it, right?
Yep.
I don't know, offered's not the right word, but
Yeah, that
discussed
did
it.
come up. That did come up. I think the fit for me is probably just personality-wise what I'm
right
what
where
I'm
you
still
are.
doing.
Yeah, and millwork for how many years?
Well, that would be probably 15.
Longest running millwork person on the team?
Ooh,
I bet you.
I bet.
I bet you I am.
We've had a lot of people move on from millwork and go into other things. A lot of people.
Rosie-
Probably more than any other department, really.
Yep, Rosie,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Berlin
Berlin.
would probably
That's
be the
right.
next, I'm thinking.
Right, and he was after you.
Yep.
He was at
yep.
MDI.
He was at MDI, in fact, he was.
Shout out to Rosie.
I had, he was my inside contact, I would use him quite a bit at MDI.
Right, that's kind of how that all started, yeah.
Yep.
That's
so-
great. Yeah, I mean, we look at the Millwork people that are now head coaches.
Mhm.
Is Gronk, Steve
yeah.
Larson, Nick Whitty,
Oh my
Spuda.
gosh.
Spuda,
Yeah, that's right.
formerly Todd Flitter.
Todd.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I know, right? It's a pretty legendary group at this point of
And
the
then in
Millwork game.
roofing and siding, in our store, it was Justin, it was Chris, it was Beef, Jared
Yeah.
Hensley,
Yeah.
all those guys, and they all moved up
Right, well, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
moving up, but they
But-
moved on.
on. There we
Yeah,
go.
I don't
Different
like
role.
that. Different role,
There
yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
We're
and,
all the
and,
same.
and, I like it a lot, it's, you know, the different challenges every day, but
Right, so let's go back.
that's what keeps it interesting.
Let's go all the way back to the history of AA Lown. What do you remember, Judy? How did that go? So how did it go down? So you're
Okay.
AA Lown, you're new,
Yes.
so it's New Holstein and Kiel, you're working for Jonathan Lown.
Yes.
Give me a day in the life of that. What year would that have been like? Let's say 2001.
Well, I started in '99.
Right.
So when I came on board, I went right away to Kiel because Kiel needed help.
It was called AA Lown.
Yes, it was called A Lounge. And at that time, we mixed paint, we did stain, we cut glass, we did plexi, we did our own loads, and I'm talking, everything was run by paper. Our till was a cardboard, was like a wooden box. He was too cheap to buy even a tray that we could take our coins out. It was a wooden box. That's how we worked.
Made blocks,
And like a wooden box.
but you made wooden blocking
Yes,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
made
and sold
wooden
that.
blocking.
That was a
Yep,
big part of your
sold
business.
that,
You had like
yes.
manufactured a little wood.
Yes.
And then you used the scraps to actually heat the shop with
Yes.
the wood stove, if I remember.
That is correct, and we did all that, and I got there very early in the morning, I got everything up and running, and, it was just a busy day. I did deliveries, I did everything, I was jack of all trades. So which means is I wore the hat of everything. I did the paint, I did the stain, I sold cabinets, I sold doors, I sold windows, I did everything. Everything we do now, I did it. But I always had an older gentleman by the name of Del Faust, and hats off to Del.
Hi, Del.
He really
Retired with
was
us,
my mentor.
sweetheart. Yeah, great
Yes.
guy.
I would write everything out and make sure I had it all, and then we would send this paper to Millwork, Western, whatever, or Great
As a
Northern.
fax.
Yep, as a fax, and that's how I placed my orders. And everything was just run by a name, and A. Lown Kiel, and signed off by the Judester on the bottom, and shipped it out, and that's how we ordered
A
everything.
job named Schrader, and then,
Yep, just by a job name.
right.
And,
How many people work there?
only 5.
Right.
We had Del and I in the office, and we had Jerry Meyer and Tom Keller, and then we always had a high schooler that came in after hours, believe it or not. And then once in a while, we would call in the Holstein. We were always busier than the Holstein, but so they would always send somebody down. In
So
the
New Holstein was
hours.
4 miles away,
Yep,
but you guys didn't really work together.
not really.
Not really.
We
How many
had-
people did they have?
They only had, they had 4 with Margaret. Margaret was their secretary.
Right.
And then they had Gary in the yard, and Bob and Jeff held down the fort inside. So they also had 4 too. But yeah, we had our hands full.
So 2003 hits.
Yes.
You're going la la la, loo loo. I remember correctly, Joel and Albert drove up there one morning or evening?
It was after,
You
it
remember.
was 3 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
So we just walked in and gathered the troops.
Yes.
They had no clue who we were,
Zero
right?
idea.
So, but Jonathan Lown was a hands-off owner, great
Yeah.
guy, a nice guy. I don't know
Very
him well
nice.
enough to say that, but it was a
Yes.
good deal, and he was good to work with. That's all I really know about him. Anyway, so we show up. So then what happened? Walk us through.
Oh my gosh, so we were taken in the back room, and we were all there. It was mandatory, everybody had to come, and we were just told there's going to be a change, and we needed to accept it. And here's Joel and Albert, and they started, you started talking and told us who had purchased us, and
I had never set foot in either building.
correct,
I never
before
even
that.
drove through either building
Yep.
before that. That was the first time I ever saw anybody or drove through.
Was
Yeah.
Jonathan around, or was
Nope.
he?
No,
Not at all.
never attended.
So
Never.
it's just,
It was just us.
Yeah, Del,
Wow.
yeah.
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 So it was very interesting. It was very quiet. You could hear a pin drop.
Of course.
I mean, we didn't know anything about it. Nothing.
Yeah, never had heard of Campbellsport Building Supply.
Never.
Right.
But I did take a ride after that. I'll tell you that. That following weekend, I took a ride and I went, "Oh, this is
So
pretty
we
cool."
probably had, company-wide, that probably made us like 30 people, I think,
Correct.
right, around
Yes.
total.
Yes, because it
As
was
a group.
Berlin, Campbellsport, and us. That was
Right.
our
And
my
we
first
remember
sweatshirt.
and then we named it. Yeah.
No,
Tri-County.
first of all, we did Kiel.
Nope,
No.
Oh, that's right.
it
No,
was
we were
Tri-County.
Tri-County for
Yeah.
a short time.
Yeah, so we
That's
were
right.
actually Tri-County Building Supply. Had shirts made, had it printed, had a logo. We were officially
Yes.
Tri-County.
I've got some
because
of the
we
shirts left.
Because we
So do
we
I.
have a Tri-County shirt.
I
Wow, that
do.
is
We should've
iconic.
brought it.
So
we were
the
actually-
first ones that had
Should have worn it.
our names.
TBS.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we actually didn't want to do Kiel because the legacy of the new Holstein store, that spring we had an auction,
Yes.
sold the property and all the materials right at the auction, including
Oh.
mountains of paint.
Yes.
So we talk about change, and a lot of our team goes through change. We're going through our special forces team, as you guys saw today.
Yes.
They're going through change. We're no longer calling it commercial. They're within their departments. It's going to be great. They have a hard time seeing that because they haven't seen these massive changes.
Right.
I mean, we made changes like no other. I mean, we sold that building, sold the inventory, brought everybody down, had Tri-County Building Supply, then we built new and just switched the name to Kiel like without a
Yeah.
whim, right? It was
Right.
like, today we're Tri-County, tomorrow we're Kiel.
It
That was always the vision,
Yes.
but we wanted to stay well, I wasn't say it was always the vision, that's probably too far. The back of our head, it was like, well, probably it'll get switched to Kiel, but it needs to be Tri-County. And why Tri-County? Three counties intersect right there, so.
Yeah, that was the
Right.
whole idea behind it. Yeah.
Right, and then Mike, you came in, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
right, so you were a true generalist of everything, and
Yes.
then even back then we were product specialists with products, right?
Yes,
Even
that
back
is
then.
correct.
Yep.
Yep, and that was a big thing for me. In fact, I was.
So if you think about our business, so if you ever worry about our business model, like these products and departments, we've been doing that a very, very, very developed long time, very successfully.
And I think too, if you do the secret shopping, you start to realize how important it really is to have a product specialist versus somebody that kind of knows a little bit about this and a little bit
I
about
think
that. but-
Therma-Tru's out 3 weeks, might be out 10, not exactly sure.
Oh, no, they don't have flat panel
Right.
Therma-Tru doors, no, they're
Right.
not available. So there is a big value in it, so.
Yeah.
And I think that too, I kind of figured that out early on.
Right. So a couple of my favorite stories of that first interactions was, I'll never forget, we did our first inventory in A Lounge, and it was very, again, we still had a lot of hardware items back then, so we're counting nuts and bolts, and Judy's children come up, and they're like little angels. They were wonderful, and they were small back then. I mean, they were maybe 10, 11 years old. And they just walked in, we're doing inventory, and I'm like, la, 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 loo, loo, loo. And Judy goes, well, we don't pay them today, they just come in and help. And I was like, hold on, what? I'm like, well, he doesn't actually pay them. I mean, we just need help, we're busy, so they just come in and help, they don't mind. I'm like, Judy, we're a real company, and we pay everyone. She's like, you don't have to. I'm like, we're gonna pay them kids for coming in. She's like,
Yeah.
oh. So that was one of my first funny memories of that
Yep.
location.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Very, very small
Yeah.
things happening then. I mean, you probably remember, Judy, you're so good at the numbers in history. So like which wasn't that long ago, right? I mean, 20 years, I guess, if you're 21 years old, seems like a long time ago, but for us oldies,
Right.
it's not that long ago.
Right.
But 2001, like, what do you think you were doing in sales?
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
Well.
Yeah, Mike, you remember?
I mean, I remember some of our first 50,000 a month, 60,000.
50,000 a
Yeah.
month. And now what do you guys
That
do a
was-
month?
Well, 2 regularly.
2M, too
yeah,
large.
Right.
2 million regularly a month.
Yep.
15, 18 years ago, 20 years ago, we were doing 50,000 a month and thinking we were killing it.
Yeah.
And
And
I
we were
remember.
with the amount of manpower we had. I mean,
Well, that's what people said. Boy, you must be a lot. I mean, I've had friends and family say, boy, you must be a lot busier now than back in the day. And I've always been busy. It doesn't matter if we have 6 people or 600.
Right, right.
yes.
Like you
Yeah.
grow into your roles, or people that are younger that are listening to this, as you're emerging your career, like it's going to get easier or it's going to get harder. You work to your workload. I mean, you still
Right,
go home at
right.
night. Things still magically get done. I don't think you guys have ever missed a delivery.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever went home and said, that guy's not going to get the product because I failed. It just ends up getting done.
It does. You just push yourself and it'll get
Yeah.
done.
Although back then we worked a lot of hours. So that's been a
Yes.
change.
Yes.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. And this is Judy is a very, very organized person.
Very.
And
Notes.
she had notes for everything for this podcast. And I was like,
I
Judy,
remember
this
Judy's
is not how
notebook.
God takes the podcast. We go wherever we want.
We wing it.
Yeah, well, it's not winging it. Like, we have a plan, and it just kind of goes on its own. So talk to me. It was not part of her plan, but talk to me about the hour shift. These are the two of the hardest grinders that have ever worked at Drexel. And I say that as a compliment, but also as one of the hardest grinders ever. I say that as criticism, right? And you guys know where I'm coming from. It's
Sure,
It's
sure.
our best trade and it's our worst trade, right? We'll work as hard as anybody and longer than everybody to get the job done.
Right.
And that was rewarded for a very, very long time. And then all of a sudden the pandemic happened. How have you guys been able to deal with less hours? I mean, you guys, like at your peak, like, okay, 2003, 4, it's even hard to say. What do you think you were working an average week around that time in through summer?
65.
65 hours a week.
hours.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
60 to 65, I guarantee it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I probably can add another 10 for me because you're right. So that's what we did.
And that was the normal. I mean, that was
Yes.
just that kind of,
No.
you know, we had, well, at that point, we weren't alternating Saturdays either, so it was.
Every Saturday, yeah.
Saturday.
And then it wasn't, we were open till noon.
Yep.
But then if somebody's standing at the counter at 12, I mean, it really, by the time you got home, it was 1:30.
Right.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden they're outside loading cedar and this
Yep.
and that, so that was a real thing, right?
Yeah.
And then right back at it at 6 a.m., 5 a.m. on Monday,
Yep.
Yep.
slinging it,
Never
drinking
late,
a little
always
Mountain Dew,
early. Yep.
right, Mike?
Lots of that.
Lots of that. So anyways, how has the adjustment been? What emotions did you go through, just a year ago, March, when he's locked in 40s?
Well, I think the first thought is, oh my God, how am I ever gonna get all this done? You know, this has been built around 60 to 65 hours a week. So that was the first
I mean,
thing.
you're talking 1,000 hours a year if you think about it, right? From
Right.
40 to 60, it's
Right.
1,000 hours a year at work.
You know, and a lot of the stuff, and I've worked at all the other stores. I think one of the things about Kiel is we do have a unique amount of walk-in traffic, not just cash customers, but
Every store says that.
I know, but contractors who specifically come to see Judy or to see
Right,
Mike,
right.
today, same
Yeah,
contractor
yeah,
two
I
to three
think-
times. So
I do think contractors come into your store
yeah.
more. Not exactly sure why, but they're used to it, just a habit, just a thing.
And
I think
I
so
don't know
too.
if that goes, a lot of it's the older guys, so I wonder if that just goes back to Lown days too.
It
That was-
just
that
an
was
older
part
guy's
of their-
habit. It's
part
just
of
their
their
coffee.
plan every day was.
Every day I grew up, I mean, you could bank on it like clockwork. They would start their day, they'd have their
Yep.
coffee, I cleaned ashtrays. They would have their cigarette,
Yep.
they would have their list on their materials, and they got their lumber for the day. They worked to their load of the day.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's what they checked in, and that's still a legacy thing for some builders.
Oh, yeah.
The young guys don't do that.
Nope.
They're like, why would I do that? I'll just text it.
Correct.
Which is
And that's,
fine both ways.
Yeah.
Love seeing the guys,
Right.
but I
Yes.
appreciate the texters too.
but I think that's where you kind of had, okay, I get a lot of this stuff done between 5:30 and 7. Those were the type
AM.
of things, yes.
AM.
Those
For
were the
those-
things that
For
kind
those of you that never got here at 5:30,
right, those were the kind of things that
It really
that
is.
disappeared a little bit. So then you kind of look at yourself and what you're doing and look for your own efficiencies and way to do things a little quicker and cleaner and stuff like that. And, not to segue into it yet, but the Monday.com I think is really going to help with that. So
have you now embraced it, or are you still like, oh my gosh?
I've embraced it.
What's your family been like? I'll tell you my family. I still work probably, I don't know, 50, whatever I work, but I work much less than I probably did. And I still feel guilty about it. I don't know if you probably both have that feeling too from doing it for decades. Like I should be working, and she'll be like, it's just weird having you home right now. Like I'm just not.
I know.
right.
And I'm like, hey, pops, and I'm a lot. Like I get that I'm a lot. I'm Joe Fleischman, I'm a lot.
Right.
And she'll just once in a while be like, you're just like I'm not ready for you yet. Like I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
Are you gonna help with supper?
Yep.
Yeah. So how has it been for
Well,
you?
for me, that's been the big thing.
Or do you stop at the bar every night and she doesn't know yet?
Right. So I work late I do 2 nights a week late where I work till 5. That's gonna be
Late, which used to be early for you.
So that's
They
gonna
kick
be,
you out at 6.
right, that's gonna be the Monday and Friday, but I'm home, I leave at 3 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that's been pretty nice, although I am expected to kinda get supper No,
freedom
but-
hasn't come yet.
But it has allowed me to, Wednesdays I take my son to confirmation, Tuesday, we're getting real close to the outdoor soccer time where I'm running them, we're practicing Sheboygan, I've got 2 boys playing, so we're running all over the place, so, it's been nice.
Do you find yourself less burned out?
Yeah,
Not really.
yeah, I do, probably a little more burn, I've got more projects going, but I can finally start kind of completing them around the house. I'm in
Okay.
a little basement remodel right now that's taking way
I've
too
never
long.
not known you to have 6 projects going, so.
Very true, but it allows me to finally complete them, so.
Which is a
Yes.
great satisfaction.
Right,
That's cool.
yeah.
And how about you, Judy? You are, again, a tireless worker.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So what's the difference?
What's the difference?
Or how did you adjust, or how are you adjusting?
I adjusted.
Are you still adjusting? Like what?
No, I adjusted very well. Jim's retired now, so I absolutely love it. I come home and he's home. So we do spend more time together. We do walks together. We just do a lot more things together. We build things together. He builds it and I refinish it, believe it or
Oh,
not.
cool.
We made some really cool wine jug stools that are just really, really cool out of wine barrels. And we finished those and we just finished a couple more just recently. So yeah, we do a lot of projects together, and I'm very organized. Like this week we're going up north, so already I'm starting to work on stuff taking up north. I'm always like that, and we always help out the kids. The kids are very much they have little projects for us to do, so I do a lot of finishing for them.
So it's been good. You've been happy we've done it.
Oh yes, yes.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So Monday, you alluded to Monday, right? So you guys
Right.
have had it for 2 months.
2 months.
Again, we talk about it a few podcasts, but if you don't know, Monday has changed everything at Drexel. Now every task is tracked, everything's in a log, everything's in the computer. The big fear, it sounds like when I say it, Big Brother is not watching. There's 7 monitors, and that I don't think has played out. You guys tell me if any Big Brother match. Like, what has Monday done for you guys? Because you alluded to it. So what has Monday done
right.
for you guys at Kiel, or you as a human, or you as a department?
I think, the big brother part of it, of course, everybody kind of thought that, but if you think about it, I'll speak for Nick and Kiel, I don't feel he's, oh my God, you've got 7 things that have to get done this, it hasn't really panned out like that at all. But I think 3 months ago, had you asked him, what's Mike got going on? Sure, he seems busy, but
It was very hard as a leader because you didn't know how to
Right.
help or when to help.
Yes.
And it really,
Right.
you're a Seinfeld guy. It really was the George Costanza. As long as you pulled your hair out and acted busy, everybody left you alone.
Right.
I said even swear
Right.
once in a while. Oh my God, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Well, Mike should get a helper. Mike's
Right.
a train wreck. Judy's like, I'm good today, and I got my I'm doing this, and oh my God, Judy's got nothing to do. She's so bored. No, she's way more efficient. So we had no way to actually judge
Right.
that. None.
Yep.
And I think what it has done, it's just organized the workflow for us much better than we could do on our own. What I would catch myself doing is saying, okay, credits are piling up, but I really got to get these orders in. And the next thing you know, those credits are a day and a half, 2 days, 3 days old. So now it's putting it in a logical order by how it's in Monday. So you've got your quote, return, order, quote, and you can just kind of keep following it.
I think it calms the mind too.
It does.
Because how many
It
times
does.
you touch that credit or look at the credit or stare at the credit or know the credit's looming. If I could only get to that credit, then the guy says, "Can I help you out with anything?" And you're like, "Well, I should give him the credit, but that's kind of complicated, so I'm not going to give him the credit." And on and on and on. And that's a very high anxiety work environment, and it wears on you.
Correct. And you set aside the time that, okay, I'll do those credits this afternoon, and you just never get to them.
No.
Because there's stuff being dumped on your desk, or you get this email. The other thing it's done for me is it's decreased the emails by probably 2/3.
You get 2/3 less emails.
I would say it's gotta be. I mean, I was
That's
pushing
incredible.
100 emails a day. And a lot of them were, hey, order the doors we mentioned in this chain from 3 days ago.
Well, explain that you were out, you were 30, right? So feedback, quarterbacks, oh my gosh, Millwork's got getting none. Again, back in the day especially, just a
Right.
year ago. A year ago, 2 years ago. Quarterbacks are freaking out. They're yelling at each other. They're meeting with, let's say Doug, let's say, Nick. I don't think the Millwork guys, we need to hire somebody. I don't know what's going on. Captain flies in from Neptune and tries to save you for a half a day, and you work till 8 o'clock at night, and maybe you're digging out, maybe not, and everybody's just going nuts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or can anybody help me? I'm drowning. I don't know, maybe. And I asked 2 weeks ago, I didn't hear anything back, and it's cricket. I guess everybody's busy. So now Monday, you were 38 past due date. What happened? You worked a little extra innings, or what happened there?
Yeah, so, and I think what happens is now it's opened up to anybody that can grab it, and all the information's right there. It's on order forms, and,
It's not Jared likes it this way, Kurt likes it that way. I'll take me an hour to explain it to you. I might as well do it myself.
Right, as long as the forms are filled out.
Junk
the
in,
way
junk
they-
out, yeah.
The way they need to be, anybody can jump on and grab this.
How cool. So it levels the load.
Correct. So, and two, the one thing I've noticed.
The cool thing is, too, is for case studies and to add more team members,
Yes.
you can, again, for leadership, it's much easier to say,
Right.
they literally can't get to it, guys. Like, they can only do this much workload, versus you're fighting for a person, and I think we need a half a person in Kiel. It's like, no, you obviously need a person.
Right, so once everybody's on, I think it's going to be, it's an amazing tool,
It really is.
Yeah, so.
So do you guys know how we found it?
No, I was gonna ask you that.
Was-
How did
was
this
it-
all come about? Or what's,
So it's the pandemic, right?
yeah,
And Joel's taking it very seriously, COVID, right? We all were. I mean, the whole world was, but I was probably on that side of the fence, like, wow, this is really bad. So I'm home with the kids. I'm in the office and I'm weak, and I'm like, we have to go paperless. We have to figure out a task flow. I'm literally just Googling around, and I just found Monday.com, I believe, on YouTube. And I watched like a 45-second intro to it, and skeptical because it's a sales thing, but I'm like, that's it. And I sent it to, I believe, Andy and Spuda, who would have been, in that training universe at the time. I said, I think this is it, guys. This is what we've been looking for. Especially if we're all going to be working virtual and we're going to be claimed essential and not at our stores. Because at that time I thought, nobody's coming back, but we still got to ship stuff.
Right.
So we met, and it was even meeting, looking back, was like, okay, are we distancing? Are we masking? You remember that? It was like last March, like, whoa, which a gazillion people are still doing that. But so we were like, it was almost awkward being in the room together, but like, this is what I found. Do you guys think this has legs? Well, Andy has the software background. He gets on the phone with these guys and being like, yo, we're all in on it. What do you got? And this is like right during hell of the lockdown.
Right.
Like no one's buying software. Like, what are you going to do for us? And we're all in. And quickly, Andy developed it. And then him and Spuda, like they just dropped what they were doing, and I stood away. I just had to give them the seed, and they just grew it. And then they started just working through workflows, like if this, then, if this, if that. And I just watched them too. I'm like, wow, this might be cool, maybe. But they put hundreds and thousands of hours into it, because it was the particulars of every little detail of every job.
Right.
We're still not there. That's the cool part.
Right.
I'll be glad when it integrates things and does different stuff. So.
But yeah,
Very,
like
very
I said, it's been pretty awesome. And I have seen their commercials even on TV.
I hate the name, like Monday. It just sounds weird. I wish they had a bit cooler name.
Yeah.
So we tried to rename it. What was it for a while? It was like something to do with stars or constellation, like True North or something. It was a different name because we're like, Monday's never going to stick. But then it's their website, so I was like, it's got to be Monday.
Right.
Tried to rebrand it even internally. So Judy mentioned she wants to kind of talk about, she must have one in mind, we maybe all do again, where this is Kiel Legacy, the craziest stories of Kiel Building Supply / Tri-County Building Supply / Drexel / what street is that even that we were on? Fremont. I was going to say Fremont, then I'm like, no, it's in Vegas.
Yep.
Fremont on the railroad tracks.
Yep.
Walk across to the gas station and get some corn nuts. Oh, pizza. Pizza. Cheese curds and pizza. They still have them. Maybe some dog food.
Yep, dog food.
They didn't have a nice
And
local.
now
They didn't have a nice local bar there. There was never a good bar to walk to right from there, even though it seemed like there should have been.
Yeah, what was Kitty Corner?
Did you guys go there a little bit?
Draft Choice, it was DC.
Yeah. Never seemed to stick.
Schlingo's.
Yeah. I never got caught up into that.
Dusty Lush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I've ate at them all. Semco windows, we toured that, and the plant's no longer there. You know, it's kind of a custom window shop, kind of a neat little, creepy. Didn't think it would have been as long because it's very. You've been there, very small, antique kind of window shop called Semco. And anyways, they're like, we took the tour. They had said something really good. They're like, we will confidently make your windows wrong because we see everything. So when you call back and being like, why would you put a green sash, you know, with a white exterior, with a yellow top? We've seen that, you know. So kind of like that, right? I'm thinking the guy frosting the 12 being like,
Right.
well, he wouldn't have all frosted, right? No, just the 12, not the bottom three. No, I'm just going to do them off mistake, right? Like, they don't question it. Like, they're going to build it confidently wrong.
Right.
And I, you know, Drexel Systems, I go out there and they're building roof trusses. Well, in my dumb brain, every roof truss is a triangle. I can't believe how many rectangles I see. I'm like, well, that doesn't shed any water.
Right,
What are we doing
right,
here?
right.
Right, but I see that a lot.
Yep.
So my craziest Kiel story that I can think of off the top of my head is one of our first, so we used to have Christmas parties, and now we have the expo, which is going to be at Lambeau, which is going to be unbelievable, right? But our very first Christmas parties, and these were small locations, we did 50,000 a month, we had 40, 45 people there, but for us it was a really big deal, my mom and dad and me, and to see all the contractors and for all the team members, and I think the contractors had a good time, right? We treated them, we tried to make it a really special night. So we were at Altoona. Is it still named Altoona?
Yes, it is.
It is in New
Yep.
Holstein, right?
Yep.
So just
Excellent.
going out of New Holstein towards Chilton, excellent food, right? The long-standing Holy Land tradition of excellent supper clubs. I don't know, is anybody still doing the, with COVID, is anybody doing the salad bar? Did that finally kill the salad
We
bars?
did it at your
Did we finally kill the salad bars at supper clubs? Is it finally, no more
we
beets?
did Reffy's and
No more pickled beets?
just a little.
No more.
Boy, I sure hope that comes back.
You do? Yeah, I
Boy,
can see
love
you're
the
old
salad
school.
bar, yeah.
What do you like on there? What's your thing? The
I
little
just
corn
like
cobs?
the salad with the cheese and.
Just the iceberg lettuce salad?
Yep.
I like the pick. I like.
Cottage cheese and peaches.
Oh, that's your thing? Yeah, yeah. You?
Pudding, I love pudding.
Oh, the pudding on it.
Yeah, there was that pudding in there.
I like the corn cob, the mini corn cobs. I've never even seen the mini corn. I really don't know how to eat the mini corn cobs.
Right.
I should have. I never did that. That would be a good joke. And the pickled beets. I'm a pickled beets guy. That's why I do miss those as well.
Very
And then you get your soup right on there even. It was the I miss the breadsticks with the cheese.
The cheese, yeah.
Right. So anyway, my craziest story is we're at Altoona restaurant, and it's a smaller place, and we've maybe got 45 people. We do not have the whole place, and the UW marching band walks in.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah.
my craziest thing!
Yeah.
The
That was
wall,
cool.
the walls almost busted off the building.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at this traditional supper club, and the UW marching band's there. I still wonder what people think or thought, or if they still think like, remember that time we were at Altoona and the UW marching band walked in?
Sure they do.
When I'm
Yep.
crushing my peaches and cottage cheese.
Right.
And my pudding. Yeah, I remember that vividly well. I also remember for some reason we used to have a monthly Brock fry when people still did that sort of stuff. And we'd come up at all the locations, we have a Wednesday Brock fry and bring the contractors in, and it'd be fun. And I wish we could do that again, but people have gotten busier in life and they just don't take the time to do that. And that's okay, things have changed, but it was a great time to know contractors, have a few beers, get some laughs, but everyone's so much busier personally for whatever reason. But that was a thing for a long time, and Silverline Windows showed up with a pile of windows like at 6:30 at night. And we were all kind of buzzed up with a couple brats. Do you remember that? That was outside the Fremont Street store. Right on the street, and we unloaded them, and I chewed that guy's ass out. Like, what in the hell were you thinking? Because he was like acting like we were still open. Like, where do I put these? Like, what are you talking about?
Yes, I do. I remember that one.
I just
Yes.
do.
I don't know why I remember that. That's weird.
You know what I remember about that one the most, though, is after we had more to drink, being up on the roof. You remember going up on the roof?
Oh, gosh.
I
We
was
went-
one of them too.
we
The
went
third
up on the-
story, which is
Yep.
two-story building, we're on the third story.
And they had those
No,
rickety stairs, and we
was it
went
the
up.
same night? Maybe.
Yes, it was, because we were up there and
Well, we probably put the Silverline windows away.
we were watching, standing on the roof, and your dad was up
It's a
there.
great
We're-
view.
We're watching
So
the guy half a
picture,
block away.
The picture, it's an old school Main Street property with the two traditional stories and the flat roof on top, just to frame it up for people. Go ahead, sorry.
And I remember your dad looking at one of the yard guys, because we were watching a guy that was working on his deck after work. He's building his deck, so he's out there cutting wood.
Did we get it at least? had no knowledge if he was or wasn't.
Right, and then he just kinda smiled.
Yeah. So as my dad's fashion, 60% maybe honest, 40% sarcastic, 60% honest, 40% whatever that was. Well, we had no gates up. The city actually gave us a community parking lot to use as lumber.
That's right.
It was a community parking lot, and we just begged and pleaded and said, hey, we're just gonna throw some lumber up here, and they're like, that's good, it was very